There are plenty of high school quarterbacks who grew up dreaming of playing in the NFL for their hometown team. There are many who set out to do it, but few who actually go ahead and get it done. Former Colts quarterback Curtis Peyton is one of them though. Despite how awful he was for the Colts organization as a starter, he ended up achieving his dream and had a very successful football career. When many people think of Curtis Peyton, they immediately laugh, as he is better known as a former 6th round draft pick who was the backup to Peyton Manning during one of the most difficult years in franchise history. But many don't know that he's a local legend, was actually really good in college, and overall just a wild dude. In today's video, I want to take a look back at the rise and fall of Curtis Peyton. We're to go through his crazy upbringing, his time at Purdue, his weird NFL career, and what he is up to now. But before we get started, be sure to leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new and love college football, and let me know what player I should cover next. Now, let's get started and talk about what happened to Curtis Peyton. So we all know Curtis Peyton as the insane backup for Peyton Manning, but before that, he had a long family history with another Indiana sports power, Purdue. The Boilermakers would run in the Peyton family, as no, he was not related to head coach Matt Peyton, but his uncle was an offensive guard at Purdue in 1975 and 1976. His grandfather also played basketball for the Boilers from 1953 to 1955. Despite that, he was open-minded to playing his college football wherever. He said, quote, "When I was young, I never really followed too many college teams. I had some pictures when I was little of Purdue stuff, and it's always been in the family, but when I figured out football was what I wanted to do, I tried to leave it open. I didn't have any dreams of playing in any particular place. I just wanted to play." The Peyton family moved around a lot, but originally got their start in Eastern Illinois before they moved around to Fowler, Indiana, Washington Courthouse, Ohio, and eventually Vincennes, Indiana. Before they would move from Ohio to Vincennes, the family sent an email to the local high school football coach about how great their son Curtis was. The coach was very skeptical, as he had heard this plenty of times before. He said, quote, "As a coach, you always have to take with a grain of salt what parents say about how big and good and fast their son is. They're not bragging, but you're thinking, oh yeah, he is this great athlete." What truly opened that coach's eyes was receiving a letter from Peyton's junior high school principal. He said, quote, "I had never had that before. He kept talking about how sorry he was that they were leaving, and he's the best athlete they've ever had there." I guess that opened the coach's eyes, and Peyton quickly put it all together. He played for Vincennes Lincoln High School, and watched Drew Brees and Kyle Orton turn the Boilers into a perennial bowl team and an occasional conference contender. He ended up becoming a star and one of the best players in the small city of Vincennes' history, as during his junior year, he passed for 2,122 yards and 22 touchdowns with 7 picks. He used his 4.7 speed to run the ball 107 times for 524 yards and 12 scores as well. His team ended up going 11-1 as they fell in the sectional to Jasper. Peyton also played basketball, as he averaged 12 points and 8 rebounds per game and was truly a multi-sport star and local legend. But he was probably going to leave Vincennes to pursue high-level football. He started to gain major interest as he camped at IU, as he camped at Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Purdue, and Michigan State, but only 2 of those schools threw out an offer. As I said, he got a Purdue offer, and both Indiana and Ball State offered as well, and those were his big 3 options at the time. But the Boilers became the favorite, and he eventually committed to them. Shocker. Despite being locked in to go to Purdue and being a local legend, you'd never know how good he was apparently. His coach said, quote, "In high school, he was tremendously humble. If you ran into him on the street, he never mentioned football. He'd talk about art or music or a lot of other things, and he was a very good football player, but I don't know if the sun sets and rises on football for him." Despite being an under-the-radar recruit, scouts were high on Peyton and his potential at Purdue. In 3 years as a starter in high school, Peyton passed for 4,946 yards and 49 touchdowns. This was before recruiting was super national, and it was easier to find diamonds in the rough, but his ranking was still decently respectable. According to 24/7 Sports, he was a 3-star recruit, the number 23 pro-style quarterback, and the 525th best player in the class of 2004. How would he end up doing in West Lafayette? Well, let's take a look. Curtis would arrive at Purdue in 2005, where he would first redshirt. He ended up getting a chance to start his redshirt freshman year, and he never thought that would happen. He said, quote, "Would I have thought I would be doing that? It's been a great experience getting thrown into the fire, and it's been a great time here, and I couldn't see myself going anywhere else." He ended up playing in a couple of games in 2005, but it was mostly a struggle. He saw substantial time against Wisconsin, Michigan State, Illinois, and Indiana, throwing for 900 yards with 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 4 rushing scores. In 2006, he'd take over as the full-time starter and had multiple big performances. He had over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns against Ball State and helped them reach a bowl game. The Boilers ended up winning 8 games, and Peyton ended up throwing for 4,015 yards with 22 touchdowns and 19 interceptions. Obviously, those interception numbers were awful, but he did set the Big Ten record that season. With alumni such as Len Dawson, Bob Greasy, Drew Brees, and Kyle Orton, Painter could have been the biggest record setter of them all. He said, quote, "It's certainly a great honor to be in this position, whether it's around the nation or around Purdue. I have a lot of work ahead of me, and hopefully it brings a lot of attention to our team." 2007 would end up being a huge season for him, as Painter would throw 16 touchdowns in just his first 4 games. He would cool off by the end of the year, but my goodness, he had a ridiculously good start. He helped them beat Central Michigan in their bowl game and finished with 3,800 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 11 picks. He decided to come back for one more year, despite probably being a mid-round pick, but unfortunately it would not go as planned. He ended up struggling to start the season out before a horrific 5-game losing streak. During that 5-game losing streak, he completed 54% of his passes for only 1,000 yards and 3 touchdowns with 7 interceptions. He had definitely regressed from his past self, and he started out the season as a Heisman hopeful and an early round draft pick, but instead played his worst statistical year since his freshman year of college and fell hard. He only threw for 2,400 yards with 13 touchdowns and 11 picks. While he did leave Purdue as one of the best quarterbacks ever, his final season was not great. Painter would end up getting drafted in the 6th round of the 2009 NFL Draft by his hometown team of the Indianapolis Colts. He was behind Peyton Manning and was also on the roster alongside Jim Sorgi. He became the 2nd-string quarterback and did not see any action until week 16 and 17. Jim Caldwell decided to rest his starters, and this gave Painter an opportunity to get into a couple of games. In 2009, he finished with a total of 8 completions for 83 yards and 2 interceptions. In 2010, he would not play a single snap. Before 2011, he'd get his opportunity. He started out the year as the 3rd-string quarterback, but after Peyton Manning's neck injury, Painter became the starter in Week 3 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. In that game, he went 5 of 10 for 60 yards and a fumble, and then the following week, he would make his first career NFL start against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. His first career touchdown pass was 87 yards, which was actually the 5th longest in program history, but honestly, he wasn't any good. In his 8 total starts for the Colts, he did not lead them to a single victory and was eventually benched in favor of Dan Orlovsky. Painter was an absolute meme, was known for his ridiculous hair, and went completely winless. It was kind of sad to see, but at least he got his opportunity, I guess. After that, he was released by the Colts, where he would then eventually sign with the Baltimore Ravens. He would return with Jim Caldwell, who was now there, and didn't even get a chance to play for them. In 2013, he'd sign with the New York Giants, where he'd complete 8 passes for a total of 57 yards and 2 interceptions. In the entirety of his NFL career, he'd throw for 1,681 yards, with 6 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. It was absolutely ridiculous, and after that, he seemingly fell off the face of the earth. He seemingly retired from football, now lives on the north side of Indianapolis, and it looks like he's running some sort of liquor business. Despite all the memes made about him while he was a Colt, he ended up making the Indiana Football Hall of Fame, will go down as a Purdue legend, and can always say he was a starting quarterback in the NFL. There aren't many quarterbacks who get a chance to start 8 games in the league, but Painter did. He got to see some wins while he was on the bench, and made the most of his career. He was only a 3-star recruit, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to give it a like, let me know what player I should cover next, and before you go, don't forget to subscribe, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.